Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm now going to call to order the August 11, 2020 Town Board Agenda meeting. We're going to begin with Finance and General Government Committee items, and presenting those will be Janet Wynn.
The first is a resolution making certain budgetary modifications. A resolution to opt into New York State paid family leave. A tentative resolution appointing a senior account clerk. A resolution appointing a controller, which is also marked as tentative. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute an acknowledgement and consent letter with T-Mobile Northeast LLC to modify a standard lease agreement for antenna facilities. A resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute an electricity supply agreement with Constellation New Energy Incorporated. And finally, a resolution appointing a person to the Board of Assessment Review.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or additions, subtractions? Okay, with none, we're going to move on to Highway, Parks, and Recreation Committee items. Presenting those, we will begin with Ray Smith.
Okay, number 7 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a van for the Maintenance and Grounds Department. Number 8 is a resolution authorizing the sale of highway surplus and equipment with Auctions International. I attached my list. Number 9 is a resolution appointing an employee at the Highway Department. Previously, we hired 3 employees. One of them decided not to take the job, so this is just filling one of the vacancies that we previously did. And I'll have a name for you. I'm still currently interviewing for the position, and that would be a temporary grounds worker.
Great, thank you, Ray.
Okay.
Continuing with the rest of the items, is that Lori Party, will you be handling those?
No, these will be Alexis and I. So the first one is the licensing agreement for Avon Crest Park. That's still tentative, up in the air. The next one is one for Firestorm, and Alexis can speak to that.
Yep, so that's just Firestorm is a Capital Region private soccer club. They would like to use Center Road Park Tuesdays and Thursdays. They have agreed to pay a license fee and to pay a rental fee for nets. That's already been, already been drafted. The fields are not in use at those times, and it would just be for 2020. Their hope was to continue for 10 years to come, but I said, given the uncertainty of what's going to happen next year, is we'll renegotiate in 2021. The next, number 13, is a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Niskuna Lacrosse Club for use of fields at Avon Crest Park. We entered into this, in years past. This year will be different because they're only going to be looking to use it. I believe it's on Mondays and Wednesdays due to, restrictions on their ability to have contact play in tournaments. So they're not going to be looking to, have porta potties this year or their tournaments. So that's on the agenda. Then 14 is, and Councilwoman Jaquith to this more, is we have a license agreement existing with Niskuna Soccer Club for use of fields at Center Road Park between April and June 30th. Due to the COVID-19 and Supervisor Syed's executive emergency orders, which restricted the ability to use town fields. They've approached us with a proposal to be able to use the fields and get the benefit of their bargain, given that they weren't able to utilize them this year. So that would likely require an amendment in so much as it's going to change the terms and conditions. But I know Councilwoman Jaquith has been in contact with them more so than I have.
Right, I don't have the final details. They're supposed to send those to me in terms of the time frame, et cetera. So still waiting on that. But if we get all that resolved, then again, this is tentative for the August 25th meeting. That's it.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, we are moving on to Economic Development, Historic Preservation, and Environmental Conservation Committee items. Presenting those will be Laura Robertson.
Yes, so number 15 is a resolution amending the code of the town of Niskuna by adding chapter 82 entitled Regulation of Chickens. We held a public hearing on that at the last regular town board meeting. Got some good comments. We talked about some of the changes that my staff had requested at the Economic Development Committee meeting. We're incorporating some of those changes and also making sure that we're keeping in the annual licensing renewal for the chicken. Well, it's not licensing, the annual renewal of their permit. So we're going to kind of have, based on the public comments and my staff comments and the Economic Development Committee meeting, like a final draft, which we'll probably post to the website for people to just take a look at, which would be on the agenda for action at the end of August. Number 16 is a resolution calling for a public hearing on proposed amendments to Chapter 220 zoning code amendments. Talked about them a lot at Economic Development. I can send you guys a list, or I can read it, at this meeting if we want. But it's largely adding vaping and marijuana to the 1,000-foot buffer to schools, and just adding a requirement for an EV charging station on parking lots over 50 new parking lots over 50 parking spaces. Don't have a lot of those in Niskuna. And
The
making some
electric fence.
changes and
Invisible
some
fence.
and invisible fences. Yeah, we've got the non-visible.
Yeah. So can you send us the list?
Sure. Yep.
That would be great.
And we would be calling for a public hearing on that. They're pretty non-controversial. So I mean, my recommendation. Oh yeah, but we're calling for the public hearing. I did that on my phone. So, and number 17 is a resolution calling for a public hearing to amend the code of the town of Niskuna by inserting a chapter entitled Small Wireless Communication Facilities. And Alexis can jump in, but I think this is because we need to govern 5G towers, which are much smaller in infrastructure, and they go on. Is anybody else hearing terrible feedback?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think there's several people who aren't on mute right now.
Yeah, I'm getting feedback.
Can everyone mute? Thank you. Sorry. It just drives me crazy. Okay, no, maybe it's me.
It looked okay. I don't know if Bill Lawrence is not on mute, but
Yeah,
okay.
I'm here.
You're I don't know if regardless, there's still feedback. Everyone maybe just put on mute for a sec. Okay, that seems better. So what Laura was alluding to is when we entered into the MLA with Verizon in February of 2020, one of the sections of the MLA is that we agreed that we would add a chapter to our code specific to small cell wireless facilities. So this is a contractual obligation and something that's to our benefit. Currently, we have a provision, we have a chapter, or we have a section in our zoning code that pertains to large, like cell phone tower type facilities that is a little bit ambiguous of whether or not those design criteria would apply to small cell wireless facilities. So this has already been drafted, and it will be short, and we'll call for the public hearing. But it's nothing out of line with what we've already discussed and when we entered into the MLA with Verizon.
And to pull a Rich Pollock, because I miss him, even though I love Matt. I just got a email from Barton LaJudas on the River Road softball fields, and they are 95% on the engineering to go out for the RFP on the River Road softball. But they reminded me that their contract doesn't include handling going out to bid. So I would still want to get a quote from them, but if we want to move this project along, and I can talk about it a little later, but I would request that we have a tentative resolution if we need it, to have Barton LaJudas handle going out to bid on this project. Let me add that.
Okay, thanks, Laura. Okay, we're now going to move on to Public Works Committee items. Presenting those is Matt Yetto.
Okay, so item 18 is a resolution to purchase a portable sewer pump. That's currently out to bid, and bids are going to be opened on this Friday. So I'll have a definite number. I have a budgetary number. This was included in our bonded list for this year. 19 is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a trailer for use by the water and sewer crew. I have a price for this as well. It's a $211 over my purchasing authority. So I would just need a resolution to have the authority to do that. That was in our budgeted money as well for capital improvements. 20 is a resolution appointing a water and sewer maintenance worker or workers. Typically, when we have people that have worked for us for over a year, they've completed their probationary period, and then they continue to grow and show advancement in their career. We like to acknowledge that with the advancement from the maintenance worker title to the water and sewer maintenance worker title. I have more than one applicant right now, or more than one staff member that is eligible for that. I've been working with Janet as far as funding that, and I think there's a little bit more discussion that needs to be had to try to figure out how budgeting was performed as far as staffing for this year and going forward. If we were to just say for numbers, if we elevated 3 people, we're looking at less than $3,000, I think it is, for the rest of the year in additional cost.
But that's, Matt, just to be clear, that's over and above the shortage that's already out there.
Yes, which we need to discuss.
Right, well, we need to discuss that because clearly
Yeah.
Matt didn't know that, the committee
No,
chair
not at all.
didn't know that, you didn't know that, and you've just proven in the last hour that you're watching every single line. So we've got to get a handle on that. I mean, I don't have a recollection if this was something that Yasmin and I agreed to when we were trying to negotiate the final budget, but we've got to get a handle on it. I don't have I do not remember that. Yasmin, do you?
I don't.
I'll have to go back to my note. I just got this like shortly. I was distracted with something else that I considered a little bit bigger right before this meeting, but I'll go back and through my notes, and maybe the supervisor and I can have a conversation and try to remember what we were trying to accomplish with that decision.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. 21 is a resolution to appoint maintenance workers in the water and sewer crew. I currently have 2 openings, actually 3. I'm looking to fill 2. I've interviewed multiple candidates, and I have 2 that interviewed very well. I'd like to appoint them or recommend their appointment for the next board meeting. I don't know if the budgetary issues that Janet pointed out would be an issue, but we are understaffed and we need to fill these vacancies. Uh, 22 is a resolution to authorize a contract to build an enclosure or a roof structure over the proposed shared fueling facility at the water and sewer garage. I have a quote from a contractor. It's slightly above $13,000 to do the work. And that was included in the budget mods that were presented at Finance Committee. 23 is a resolution to appoint a water treatment plant operator. I've mentioned it many times that we have had 2 retirements and a third one is very soon coming. I did interview someone today, which interviewed very well and has the proper license and is willing to come to work for us. I'd like to recommend that we hire him as well. I can provide details offline if necessary. but we're very lucky to find someone with the proper license and willingness to leave his current facility and make the switch and come to work for us. 24 is tentative. It's the resolution to approve the first quarter 2020 corporate utility billing reconciliation. Kathy is checking the numbers right now in my office. Chris Lachinsky, the water billing clerk, has generated those, and we do a double check within our office to make sure the number is correct. Same holds true for number 25, which is the approval of the second quarter of 2020 corporate utility warrants. We're checking those numbers as well. And same as well with number 26, approving the second half of 2019 residential and commercial utility billing reconciliation. If everything checks out, I don't see why we couldn't go forward with them, but if we have to double check and do some more additional corrections, they may have to wait till the next board meeting, but it's not pressing. 27 is a resolution authorizing signing of a driveway easement agreement. There's a property on Hilltop Road where they have a driveway which was constructed over the former access road to an old water tower which has been demolished for years. The property owner wants to repave the driveway and make some improvements, and this is just a legal authority to allow them to do that. 28 is a resolution. I don't know. Do you want to handle this one, Alexis or Paul, or it has to do with the release for ESG?
I informed Aiden Murphy, I believe is his name, of ESG, that we're just finalizing our review of that, and that that's a work in progress, but hopefully it'll be ready for August 25th.
Okay, thank you. 29 is a resolution authorizing the payment to National Grid for an electrical bill that was a result of National Grid failing to bill the town for electric consumption for 30 months. It was their error, so we're paying it back over the same time period, 30 months, with no penalty. It's just a resolution allowing us to do so. And 30 is a resolution. I don't know if you want to speak to this, Alexis, for Winnie Road.
Yeah, I don't want to bore everyone who is on finance, but this is just authorizing payment to reimburse a resident who had property damage as a direct result of work completed by our town's contractor that we will submit an insurance claim for once we make the payment to her.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, great, thank you. Lastly, we will Police and Public Safety Committee item presented by Chief Wall. I'm hearing feedback again. If everybody could just mute the mic. Thank you. Chief Wall?
Okay, 31, ceremonial resolution recognizing and honoring retired Deputy Chief John R. Waterfield. And 32, a resolution enacting a local law to amend Chapter 55 of the Code of the Town of Niskayuna entitled Alarm Systems Emergency. Resolution 2020-203 was tabled July 28th, 2020.
So as I
Great.
understand it, that would be old business, so that I'll move that to the top of the agenda for August 25th, the tabled resolution. And then just two other items that I had mentioned is that very tentatively, perhaps a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute an MOA with the PBA. As I said, very tentative, and we would likely need to go into executive session prior to that to discuss that. And then 34 is also tentative, but we've identified some language in Chapter 35 or 37 of the town code, which pertains to police rules and regulations, just to update it, to meet the times, and then there's some updates that are necessary, just in light of, I think there are some recent court decisions regarding ability to restrict, personal appearance as it relates to, I think, like haircuts and facial hair. So just basically bringing it up to date. I don't think it has been brought up to date in quite some time. But like I said, that's tentative, so we'd be wanting to call for a public hearing on that if I have enough time to get all of that done before the 25th.
Okay, great. Any other additions? Okay.
I think Paul Briggs is trying to talk.
Oh. You have to unmute yourself, Paul.
We need a resolution to retain a law firm to conduct an investigation.
Okay, thank you. So we'll add that. Any other changes, additions, subtractions? Okay, seeing none, I will now make a motion to adjourn. If I could have a second on that motion.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're now adjourned for the evening. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.